left field, and Pujols has given St. Louis the lead. A dramatic, towering 3-run home run.
Murray out of the pocket. 7 seconds. 6 seconds. Murray keeps it downfield. It's caught. It is caught. DeAndre Hopkins.
Kevin Durant way outside. Delivers. Kevin Durant from downtown. It's a 6-point game.
Ladies and gentlemen, a pleasant good evening to everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Lewis Sports Network. It is your boy Lewis coming back at you once again with another heavy hitter live stream with yet another video. Make sure to smash that like button, hit that subscribe button, make sure your notifications are turned on, make sure you guys are sharing this on your social media platforms. I truly appreciate it. Happy Tuesday. How is everybody doing? We are at the holiday season. Hope everybody is having a wonderful Tuesday night. It is almost Christmas and New Year's time. So hope everybody is doing well. Again, salute to the LSM Mod Squad. We got a lot to talk about today. So obviously we got Giannis signing the 5-year extension, which is obviously going to be the theme. We're also going to talk about where does James Harden likely fit, and is the way that he's acting right now, is it a bad way for other organizations that might even try to acquire him if a deal was to get in place? And then obviously we're going to talk about Kyrie and KD in terms of Brooklyn, how good they looked, and then also, what's the potential for this team? I mean, we talked about it before already, but then the question that I have to ask is I'll ask the question much later, but, as we get started, man, again, salute to the LSM Mod Squad. Shout out to Joel Hayward, who's in here. I already left the link inside the chat. Hopefully more people can come in. So again, man, smash that like, hit that subscribe. If you have not, for the Lewis Sports Network. Sorry that I kept delaying the stream. It's because what happened was I kept trying to fix my green screen. So if you see me a little bit dark, it's because the lighting isn't that great, and I'm guessing I'm having an issue with my webcam. But other than that, I'm just doing that. So, but anyway, I left the link if you guys want to hop on in and, once again, we talk about, these topics that are going on, man. But salute. Shaquita McConnell says, what is the http streamyard.com for? What are you talking about? Are you talking about what's in the chat, or are you talking about this StreamYard setting that I'm on? So I'm not really too sure what you're talking about. I'm not really too sure. All right, but anyway, guys, for those who don't know, for those who are just tuning in, I'm pretty sure everybody knows about it, but Giannis signed a 5-year, $228 million deal. And he is staying with the Milwaukee Bucks. Right now, if we're looking at his Supermax extension right now, because he was supposed to be a free agent for this upcoming 2020-2021 season. But right now, if you look at 2022, so this is his 5-year trajectory salary coming up for the next couple of years. So in 2022, he's earning $39.3 million. In 2023, he's earning $42.5 million. Then for the 23-24 season, he's earning $45.6 million. In 2025, he's earning $48.8. And then lastly, he is earning $51.9 million in 2025-26. There you go. 2025-2026. He is earning $51.9 million, which puts him at an average of 45.6 million, which means that he has the highest average contract over a length of time, which is the 5 years, and he is the highest paid superstar in NBA history with his 5-year contract, worth $228 million. That's crazy. And so, I wanted to get people on the panel to see what they thought about the deal and Giannis getting it. What does it mean for the Milwaukee Bucks? What does that mean for other NBA teams? Are they going to go? Are they going to try to see if they could trade for him? Are they going to, are they going to stand pat and see what they could do to build around Giannis to see if he can win the championship in Milwaukee for those 5 years? So we definitely got to wait to see. So we have him. We obviously got to talk about James Harden and the other teams that can possibly try to get James Harden because he clearly does not want to be a Houston Rocket. That was made very clear. Let me just try to refresh something real quick. All right, shout out to Z Smooth in the building. Appreciate you. Shout out to Joel, and obviously shout out to Brandon. Salute to you, fellas. Guys, other suplex, what's going on, bro?
What's going on, Lewis? Man, big news, big news. Giannis is loyal. Big time.
All right, man. I just wanted to get your thoughts on, first of all, thank you for coming on to the stream, first of all. Second of all, man, I just wanted to get what's your thoughts on Giannis signing that 5-year, $228 million extension, making him the highest paid player in NBA history over the course of his contract?
I think that is bold. Giannis did a very bold thing because it's not the best looking situation in Milwaukee, and he just committed long term to them to try and win them a championship and turn them into a franchise. So it's good to see that, there's players out there willing to do it the right way. It's risky because he's taking a lot of heat for not winning. And, it could potentially backfire him. But, because if he asked for a trade, like, let's just say next year, the Bucks wouldn't move him. They couldn't move him until maybe the last 2 years of his contract. So he's taking a huge gamble with this franchise. And we saw this game, even though the franchise has made mistakes, so him and the Bucks are just working in tandem. The Bucks are really lucky. They're really lucky that they have this type of player that has this type of loyalty that we really haven't seen since, the 90s. These players with this type of loyalty to their, drafted teams. So hopefully they make good on this, sign, because if it was all about, him stacking up with the super teams, he would have been straight in Miami. He would have went straight to Miami or Phoenix or maybe even Toronto or a place like that. There's a lot of teams that he could go to, instantly make them the number one best team in basketball. Not saying a lot, seeing as the LA Lakers just basically stacked the talent and now the best team de facto in the league. So good for Giannis, good for the Bucks. Hopefully the Bucks make good on it.
All right, man. And real quick, man. So like I said before, he's making $39 million this next upcoming season in 2022, not this year, 2021, because he was supposed to be a free agent at the end of this season. So he signed a 5-year max extension, guys. And once again, for 2023, he's earning $42.5 million. Then it goes up to 45.6, which is the average of his contract for the 5 years. Then he's making 48 mil in 2025, and then in his last season, he's making 51.9, which is pretty much roughly 52 million if you want to round up the numbers. So you're talking really, really, really big bucks. Along with what Godzilla was saying, the Bucks took it. The Bucks are fortunate that they didn't lose him. Now let me ask you. And Godzilla had basically said that if he wants out after 1 year, the Bucks are not just going to get rid of him because they want to make sure they get equal value for Giannis Antetokounmpo. The biggest key for him is now, I got to ask you, how do you think the Bucks are going to be able to build around Giannis? Now, they did get a couple of pieces, but I don't know if it's enough right now, I think, to compete in the Eastern Conference. Like, what's your thoughts on that? Do you think the Bucks are going to be able to build around him, considering how much money they're going to be paying Giannis the next coming couple of years?
Well, the thing is that I think that, it looks really crazy now, but I think that, with the salary cap continually going up, it's going to get alleviated over time. The big question is, what are they going to do in the recent? Because, okay, the Bucks are playing, they signed Giannis. That's the first goal. They got Drew Holiday. What they want to do is wait for the 2021 offseason and see if they could just build a whole bunch of great role players around, these two players and maybe get another superstar to go along with him, Chris Middleton and what's his name? Because really they have all the pieces there. They're just missing that second star. They are missing that player that can offensively get them over the hump where Chris Middleton fails. Chris Middleton gets dialed back to the third option, and Drew Holiday goes to the fourth option, which would be quite incredible if they could build the team with that amount of depth and veteran presence. I've always thought that the Bucks, they are a little bit on the younger side when it comes into the playoffs. They just lack that veteran presence. Maybe they get somebody like a Trevor Ariza. They had, George Hill and Eric Bledsoe, but George Hill was productive. But when we talk about Eric Bledsoe, we all know how much of a walking brick he is. So the Bucks got to get some pieces that are proven caliber talents in the playoffs. That's what they need because that's what Giannis needs. And they really need to change their offense. And with this deal, the Bucks need to do anything necessary to give Giannis what he needs to not only win but build a franchise, especially in this upcoming offseason. Because you consider there's a lot of criticism going towards Mike Budenholzer.
Right.
And I think the Bucks, they have about 3 years really to start building a competitive team that is either the first or second in the league before Giannis, starts to get a little cranky. And we've seen that at any point these players have the leverage to really pull some crap. We see what James Harden's doing right now with 2 years left on his deal. So we're dealing with a time where players have all the leverage at any point. So Giannis knows he's getting the most money. Teams, if they see that he's even on the market, they will drop everything just to get him. He's going to probably be the most valuable player, him and Luka, for the next decade. And they're so young. I mean, he's 25 years old. He's going to be only 30. And knowing that this medicine that they have, these medicine breakthroughs, this dude could be great for until he's like 35. So he has another maybe 15 years in the tank on top of what he already is right now. So the Bucks, I think, they should be thinking about getting another coach, having him play a small ball big, which is really what his true position is. I think he's dribbling the ball way too much.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're looking at the talent that he can get, I think that it's not about much as getting a superstar, even though they need one, maybe like a Chris Paul. I think it's more about building a more well-rounded team because the Bucks team the last 2 years have been great, maybe except having Michael Brogdon and Eric Bledsoe, but they've more been top-heavy with good role players in the season. They've been the new Cleveland Cavaliers of the 2010 not the 2010s, but the 2000s, and they keep falling short in the playoffs. Just smarter offenses.
Those are great points, and I agree with you in terms of like they really do need a second star because Chris Middleton is not even your second best player, and even in the bubble, it was proven to show you that Chris Middleton was not. He's a good player, but he's not that guy. And the thing is, he makes max money, like he makes a lot of max money for a third option. So that's why I said that they really do need a second guy to, as you said, Godzilla, to really put them over the top. Like when they go through droughts, they got a guy who could go get a basket for them when they need to. And that way, that alleviates pressure off of Giannis. But also, it's on Giannis to become even a better offensive player so that when they don't have other options, Giannis can, when the options are not, when let's say that second option is not on the floor and Giannis is still there, at the very least, Giannis is able to shoot them, out of situations in case if they can, because again, they're going to dare him to shoot. So all you have to do is really just build a wall again on Giannis. And like you said, they really do need somebody to where he doesn't have the ball in his hand so much because he's driving the cup. He kind of plays like a LeBron James, just a less, jump shot version of him, where at least with LeBron, he has a serviceable jump shot to where you have to really respect his jumper now, especially with his drive. So Giannis just has to improve his outside shooting. in order for him to be one, less predictable, two, that way that now the floor can actually can actually open up more actually if he was to be able to shoot the basketball too, because you do that, now it's like if you try to play for a shot, that will actually create more space for him to drive. And it helps to have shooters around him, obviously, because you do need that. Because the thing is also, like, if you look at the Bucks, other than Giannis, they don't really have another player that could really kind of command a double team. But Giannis has to put himself to the point where he can command a double team. So I think Gilbert Arenas made a very good point when talking about Giannis. Giannis's game is really just mostly pretty much driving to the basket and just getting shot attempts up when he's open for the 3-point shot. But he's not really even a good pull-up shooter. So if he can work on his game, if he can develop a post game as well, because then he could develop he can draw. I've said before, he could draw the defense in, and then he'd be able to kick it out to shooters for open shots. And then more importantly, then that's going to make the defense react. And then what he doesn't realize is he's actually going to get more opportunities that way. But the key thing is going to be obviously the Bucks building around him. Obviously, him getting better. But like you even said, man, Mike Budenholzer possibly getting fired because I just don't think he's the coach. He's a coach that can get you at the very least to the conference finals, but to get you over the hump, he's not that kind of coach because he doesn't make adjustments. He's been known for that. He's been known for that. So, I don't think it's going to work if the Bucks are to make the NBA Finals. So they really need to build around Giannis the right way. He has to improve his overall offensive game in terms of just adding more elements. And then obviously they need to get a coach that's going to really put them over the top in terms of putting them in the positions where they can succeed. So that's with Giannis. But now, but then let me ask you a question. Let's say that Giannis does want to get traded after 1 year. Let's say that he does that. What would be the team that he probably would likely because you said he could go anywhere, but it depends on what he's thinking about. If he wants to win a championship, would he go to the Lakers and join LeBron and AD? Because he's on record as saying that he wouldn't mind playing with those guys. The only difference is he wanted them to come to Milwaukee. And we know that LeBron and AD are not going to come to Milwaukee. But and the thing is, crazy part is even if they did, then the media would just be talking about the Milwaukee Bucks all the time. But why is that? It's not because of Giannis. We know that already. But do you think Giannis has it in him to go to the Los Angeles Lakers? And if he was to go, LeBron and AD would not come to the Bucks, and he would have to go to the Lakers. What do you think they would say about him? Do you think he would get criticized for making helping make another team?
I think he would get criticized just like LeBron James did his first year. Before, the Miami Heat became the most beloved team in the NBA. People forget that first season. He was hated. He was either loved, like from people like me, who loved the move from a talent standpoint, but people who most of the league hated him. They thought he, especially failing in the playoffs to Orlando, and then turning around leaving his team, which I think is somewhat justified with the talent they were giving him. And the Cleveland Cavaliers' lack of making moves when they clearly could have got Amari Stoudemire. They could have put in the extra effort to do that. It wasn't until later that they really got smart and LeBron James realized, okay, if I leave, I could go win while they're building up draft picks and then come back. He came back to a really good situation draft-wise because when you're dealing with a small ball, or not small ball, but a small market team, that basically your talent's going to come up through the draft. So by leaving and coming back and really moving around, it really alleviates so they could got that run in 2016, and the subsequent runs had not been for the 2017-2018 Golden State Warriors signed Kevin Durant, they might have won even more. So it's just kind of like, well, if he were to get traded, he still got 4 years left on his contract. So any team would be able to drop anything for Giannis. And start building from there. And I think it's a good time if this really went south in next year, which I don't see, but if it did, let's just say it did. The teams that have a lot of assets, you talk about the Atlanta Hawks, have a lot of assets. great market city. Questionable coaching, but great market city. You got the Boston can't do it because I have the chart right in front of me, so I'm just gonna list you all the teams.
Yeah.
Definitely Brooklyn. Brooklyn will be willing to gut their roster because if you think about it, as the big three, they don't interrupt what each other are doing. Like the thing about big threes, they mostly when you have three guys like that, these high caliber players, most likely they're going to hit each other's way. It happened a little bit with the Miami Heat in the 2010s with Wade and LeBron James, but they worked so phenomenally together. It didn't even matter. And they had Chris Bosh there. So him going to Brooklyn's got a whole heap of talent. They would have to gut their team, but if they played it right, by when gutting their team and being able to get some of these guys back in free agency, just having those three guys on your roster already makes you a winner, no matter who else you have on your team. So maybe giving away Joe Harris, Tamuth Luau, if I'm saying his name right, Karis LeVert, and Landry Shamet, or those type of guys, and a couple of picks for probably the best player in the league right now, pound for pound. Because let's just be honest, Giannis doesn't have any top 5 player on his team. He's working with scraps, trying to make it with a questionable coach with scraps coming off the bench, and really he pulls his teams forward, on defense and offense. He may not have a refined offense game, but his defense is so good to the point where he's just such a threat motor-wise, and this dude is willing to get better. That's the scary part. This dude ain't done. He's already won 2 MVPs at 25. Like that, in Defensive Player of the Year. So not only is he the best player in the league, but he's the best player in the league at both ends. Maybe not offensively. He's top 5 offensively, or maybe top 10 offensively. Man, I wouldn't put him up there top 5, but he's the number 1 best defensive player in the league, and he gets maximum effort, and he's willing to do anything to win. That's the biggest thing. You're not dealing with somebody like Damian Lillard who wants to take all these logo shots and not make his teammates better. Giannis wants to make his teammates better on both ends of the court, no matter what he has to sacrifice. So just looking at the teams that he could go to, not a lot of bottom teams right now in the next year are going to have a lot of space. There's no way that the Charlotte Hornets can get him. Cleveland can't get him. Chicago can't get him. And plus, if it goes south, Giannis is going to have a whole bunch of locations that he would want to go to. So they would have to try to be a 3-team trade to do it. Dallas might get him. They have a good amount of assets that they could pull over with draft picks from the years that they were not as well off as a team. You got the Denver Nuggets. They got a good bit of talent, but not enough to be able to get Giannis. Golden State, of course, but not really. Really, it's going to be hard it's going to be a couple of teams, right? The LA Clippers, maybe, but they don't even have a lot of talent anyway. I mean, it's going to take some major amount of assets. Like the Lakers could feasibly do it if they really good at their team, because their team is loaded. Their team is loaded. You send over guys like Kyle Kuzma, who have been improving constantly, Alex Caruso, Dennis Schroeder. I mean, would you gut all that just for Giannis and have him play, potentially, center with Anthony Davis at power forward? They would be the best small ball team in the league. They would be the best team in the league, period. So the Lakers have the assets to do it. And if I'm the Lakers, I'm looking at Taylor Horton Tucker or the Bucks, because he's playing really good, and if he's not going to get those minutes, then he's gone. A team is taking him, and he would be a nice cheap asset for them, because he would be just a nice role player. So just to keep that in mind, the Bucks have to make good, smart free agent signings that not only affect them now, but I think they don't have a lot of money, so they got to get good players like Miami. In Miami's example, Miami's got a very balanced roster, maybe not great when you look at it, but they know how to build assets from the ground up of undrafted picks. So when we talk about keeping the team cheap, that's the number one thing for them. Not really who they trade for, but just keeping the team cheap enough to get a couple of superstars and still be a balanced, well-talented team building up. The team may not look good this year, but look at the assets they have. They have, Torrey Craig, Brian Forbes,
Another
who's going to
pickup.
be
Another pickup. Those are two other good pickups, underrated pickups that the Bucks got.
they nobody's really talking about. They got Bobby Portis, a really good player. Torrey Craig, Pat Cunningham. They kept Pat Cunningham. They got Brian Forbes. They're a little bit lacking in the small forward and power forward department, but they could improve that with time. But just seeing and they got DJ Augustine, which I think is a solid backup point guard, but they're going to need more. They're going to need a lot more because Dante Steven-Gento is starting, and I think Steven-Gento is a 6-man, 7th-man player. That's the best role that he could complement a championship team. So when you're talking about trades, I mean, Lonzo Ball seems to be getting pushed out of New Orleans. Maybe they could put together a deal for him. There's just so many options, especially with the Oklahoma City Thunder. They've got some nice older assets, but they just trade with them. So
Godzilla, hold on a second. Yo, Weiss and G Money, man. The link is above in the chat, man. So you guys can hop on in anytime. If y'all need me to put the chat, I'll put the link back on. But the link is already in the chat. So if you guys want to come on in, just come on in. All right, keep going. Go ahead, guys. Keep going.
Oh, I forgot about this. If they really want to make a splash, trade Giannis. Trade him to the Philadelphia 76ers. They would completely dump their whole roster for him. They got Ben Simmons.
I can see that happening.
They got Seth Curry, shooter. They got picks. They got everything. They got Terrence Ferguson. They got good role players that work good in that small market. Their roster is a whole bunch of trade bait right now. Like, if we're really going to be serious about it, then there's a couple of guys. Really, if I'm telling the truth, the league is in a position right now where only maybe 5 teams can trade for Giannis. It's more valuable to make trades to get more talent for Giannis than to trade for him. Now that I'm really looking at the rosters, because there's so much a collection of talent that you can just kind of pick off from each team to kind of build this really great team to win a championship. So I really don't expect them to trade him, and plus how loyal he is, I think he's going to stay. Now that I'm just looking at these rosters right now.
All right, man. Okay, no, that's pretty good. It's true, man. I look at the power that Giannis has got, especially with the fact that you mentioned that he's 25 years old. I mean, you're looking at his 10-year trajectory. I mean, this guy, if he stays healthy, this guy, you're talking about a 10-year window for Giannis. So I think that when you look at the Bucks, getting Torrey Craig, like I said, I thought he didn't really play as many minutes. I thought he was more impactful 2 years ago with the Nuggets than he was really last year. But he really was an underrated pickup for the Bucks. Got to see what's good. What's number one? What's his role going to be, and how many minutes is he going to play? Obviously, Bryn Forbes, he was very good for San Antonio, and I thought that was another underrated pickup. I think DiVincenzo might get traded. I think eventually. I think he might be part of a trade deal because I think that he can do so much more, but he doesn't get the minutes in Milwaukee. So I feel like that he possibly might be an odd man out in terms of who the Bucks might trade for if they were going to get a second star to pair up with Giannis, so that they could put him with Middleton. So I think that that was good that they were able to keep Pat Connaughton because I like him. He's a really good player, definitely athletic, and especially in today's game, you really have to have you have to have athleticism at least for a good part of your lineup. So that was good that they kept him. But Giannis really does kind of really have all this power though when you consider like what. And as long as he's playing at a high level, he holds so much value. And if you look at a team like Philadelphia, because it's such a dumpster fire, that organization, who's the general manager? Elton Brand. So he really hasn't been the smartest general manager. So it's like, he would probably gut the roster just to get Giannis Antetokounmpo. He would. I could see him doing it, especially with what they have to give up. And then that would actually make the Bucks are getting number one, they're getting value. And then on top of that, it's like now you have a deep roster once again. So it's like that amount of value that Giannis brings to you because of what he could produce offensively, you're getting a lot of value right there. So, and it's like, so that's really good. That's really important to know. So let me just look into the chat. Shout out to Mahari Sports Nation's podcast, man. Salute to Abel. Make sure y'all go check out his channel. And congratulations on the 1K, homie. Appreciate it. For the salute. Salute to you as well. I really, so me personally, Mahari, I want you to talk about the UNLV Rebels of 1990, the 91 team. I would love for you to talk about that, guys. If you haven't, make sure y'all go subscribe to Mahari Nation Sports Podcast. Fire content, fire content. Does historical perspectives, has basketball conversations. Awesome channel. Really, really go check it out. And again, congratulations, Mahari, on that 1K. Let me just check in the chat real quick for a little bit. I know Weast and G Money were in here. Yo, salute to Octavius TX, man. He says, man, y'all see James Harden out here built like an offensive lineman. I'm about to get on him next. I was just thinking about talking about him next. G Money says, I think the Bucks can get to the second round, but I don't see him going to the Eastern Conference Finals. I'm not ready to say anything about Milwaukee yet until I see what their team looks like. I think it's just kind of hard to kind of judge them considering, they only went to the second round. This is a little bit different this year because now the teams are in their arenas, even though it's still no fans. So it's not going to be really hostile. It's going to still kind of feel like another pickup game. The only difference is everybody's back in their arena. So that's the difference. But it's still going to be, that way the way it is. Shout out to Brandon once again, man. Okay, he says salute. All right, no problem, Mahari. Salute to you, bro. Well, I appreciate that, G Money. Even though we don't always agree, I appreciate the fact that, according to him, he says we got the best basketball content. I appreciate that. G Money says CP3 will make his son's debut against Luka and the Mavs on Wednesday, so that would be tomorrow. I was thinking about doing that game tomorrow, and then I kind of stumbled upon some Jordan LeBron stuff when I was hearing some other YouTube channels, and it just made me think real interesting on what I'm going to do tomorrow's video on. So. Sixers took care of the Celtics earlier tonight. I saw that. Sixers came to play. They really came to play, even though it is preseason. Imagine if any other superstar did what Harden is doing right now. So now that we've kind of covered on Giannis Antetokounmpo, now I want to get on to James Harden. And I hate to say it, man, but I have not liked the way that James Harden has acted towards this whole process. Now, I understand on one sense you haven't been able to win, but the thing that I get on James Harden is the Houston Rockets, they did everything they could for James Harden. They did everything that they possibly could to put a winner for him to be able to compete to go to the NBA Finals. It just did not happen with them. I know they had a couple of circumstances, obviously with the coaches, but I got to ask you this, Godzilla, man. What's your thoughts on James Harden? Coming in, he looks so much heavier now. He looks heavier now on the court because he's playing San Antonio tonight, and I believe he was making his debut playing. But what's your thoughts on him holding out to try to leave the Houston Rockets? And John Wall came out and said that that he thinks that James Harden would stay and would want to play with them. Even DeMarcus Cousins, I think DeMarcus Cousins kind of took a shot at James Harden, but with some recent quotes, but. What's your thoughts on that? And basically, James Harden not only wanting out, but what realistic team do you really think that James Harden is going to go to if Houston is willing to, and if Houston's willing to trade him, because they're going to want to trade him for the right value. So, or do you think that they keep him all year? And then I'm gonna follow it up with another question. But what's your thoughts on that, though?
I think that Houston did everything, but they did not do all the right moves. And it's a two-edged sword with them because half it's Houston's fault for making really crappy moves at the end of the run with James Harden. But Daryl Morey gave Harden a championship team, and he proceeded to miss 21 threes without Chris Paul in the game, had a guaranteed championship in the bag, was going to be one of the greatest teams ever, had them pinned down, looking for help, calling the cavalry. With Kevin Durant and Steph Curry on your team, you're about to send that team home. James Harden only had to make a couple of threes, make a couple of layups. The Warriors won by 5 or 8. They played awful in that game 7, and you dropped him. Now you're gonna blame him when he gave you a championship team. The only bad thing he did was not sign Trevor Ariza again, so they
Yeah,
can have the
that
depth, the defensive
was a
depth
huge
chart
loss.
alliance. Because
That
that
was a
year,
huge loss.
Trevor Ariza literally went to the Phoenix Suns, who had nothing for like what $5 million. It was laughably cheap. And I don't know what happened. Maybe he was frustrated, but not signing Trevor Ariza again really messed them up on the 2018 run when Durant went down. Had they had Trevor Ariza when Durant went down, they probably would have won that series hands down.
Let me say this real quick. Trevor Ariza actually came out after that series, and he actually complained about the style of play that Houston had, and he felt that they should have won that series, but because of the style of play, he says that they felt that they had I forgot what exactly he said, but he was not a fan of the way that the Rockets were playing in terms of the play style with James Harden shooting. He felt that the ball was not moving enough. Those were his comments after they lost Game 7 in 2018. But continue.
I think that it wasn't really to me the style of play. I understand it's the style of not adjusting to more uneducated offense. That's the problem. Because once I saw that my team is shooting 25% from the 3-point line, it's time to switch. Because we have Clint Capella, we can run pick and roll basketball. You know what I'm saying? We don't have to shoot all these shots. We can play inside out instead of playing perimeter ball. Taking all these wasteful shots, and it's that lack of education that I criticize Mike D'Antoni. It's really two guys' fault, Mike D'Antoni and James Harden. And I feel sorry for Chris Paul because he's the one that made that team an educated offense, and that's why I give him a lot of credit. Him and Harden together were able to pretty much beat the Warriors. If it had not been for that injury, and if they got in the finals, they would have shammed on the Cleveland Cavaliers. Like, it wouldn't even been a series. So James Harden failed as a top 5 player at the time, an MVP player, to get his team to the finals when he had the best team on the ropes. They didn't have a great game. He managed to fail on such a level. So I not only blame him, but I blame the organization for not making the requisite smart moves, but doing what James Harden wanted, doing what he wanted instead of what they needed to do. And now the roster, we have John Wall gone for Russell Westbrook, which, I mean, that's just that. And Boogie Cousins is your starting center. I mean, and then if they were doing that, why did they bring back Gerald Green if they want to rebuild? Like, just a whole bunch of questionable moves. So clearly the move here is to trade James Harden. And if we look at the league, a team that has a lot of assets that can potentially keep James Harden. I mean, if we're looking at, I think Atlanta is a destination because they have a lot of young assets. And they would be willing to halfway gut their team and rebuild next year in free agency, because Atlanta would then become a destination because they're contenders and because of, the big market that we are in. It will become a great destination. Boston needs James Harden to be that starting, shooting guard to bring more offense because they were offensively stagnant in the conference finals. Outside of not Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown.
Yeah.
Brooklyn could gut their roster, but Kyrie and KD, a whole bunch of stuff happened there, and I believe that's not even the right move to do that. I think they should just keep what they have because they're a championship team already, barred from chemistry. I mean, we start looking to some of these teams, Cleveland, not a lot of these teams. So I think it's going to be a 3-team trade between a really bad team, a really good team that's going to get hard, a bad team that's going to get some pretty good assets, and the main team, the Houston Rockets, which are going to get the offload of all the assets mostly. Just looking at it, if he doesn't work in Dallas. Oh, hey, Jeff.
Hey, what up?
What's going on, Jeff?
What's up, guys?
What's up? So let me just quickly finish this.
Yeah, for sure.
Warriors made sense at first, but they don't have enough assets unless they can get a third team involved. The only asset I'll be even willing to give up if I'm them is maybe, Kelly Oubre Jr. and Andrew Wiggins. But Andrew Wiggins has that overpaid contract. Hey, you not have such a big contract, but maybe that big contract works in their favor to try and matching up salaries with James Harden.
That's right.
They him and a couple of good pickup players within that trade, and maybe get a third team involved, and Houston would be willing to bite, and they could have next year for only the price of two or the cost of two role players that they could easily get in free agency next year to sign the minimum. They could have three superstars, push Clay to the small, and legit have a championship team. And it's the effect that James Harden is going to have on that franchise from a perspective of now he can play beautiful basketball. As he said, in the leaked audio, he can start playing team ball. We've seen Steph Curry have the effect of superstars, even Boogie Cousins. Boogie Cousins returned to a productive player. His last productive year was in Golden State. And that's the effect that franchise has to people. And I think you can only say a couple of franchises do that to players. And mainly it's the Warriors right now, it's the Miami Heat that really change players. And if Harden were to go to those two teams, I think he would be much better than what he is right now. And then you look at Indiana, they halfway have the assets, but would they really want to trade for him? Are they really a destination? They're more built through the draft than anything. So Los Angeles Clippers they don't even have the assets, and the fit is very questionable because he would basically become their point guard. And unless PG plays back to that top level, it's going to be very questionable whether that can work. Now, would the Clippers get better? Absolutely. But would they have to gut their team with all these contracts? Yeah. They would be basically a three superstar team with, a gutted bench. Then they would probably have to trade Lou Williams in the process and Luke Kennard, taking away the little good that they did this season. So then you got the Lakers, who, of course, have all the assets right now, especially HT playing hot. He could get a team's attention. But they're not going to get him. They're not going to mess with the chemistry like that. LeBron James is the main ball handler, and I think, as much as I like James Harden, I think it's going to be very questionable if he can come off ball. The Miami Heat, they don't have any assets, really, that can make this deal serious unless they're the third team. But
they just don't want to give.
But a bad team. But the reason why would a contending team like that, they is trying to wait for 2021 to load back up? Why are they going to get involved in the trade? And plus, I think the third team that's going to be involved is going to be a bad team that has really not that much to lose but a lot to gain. It's not going to be another contending team putting pieces in there to not get Giannis. The Grizzlies, they have nice young assets, but it's not going to be what Houston wants, really, unless they can get John Morant. They have Wall, but then they have Wall now, which is stupid. Russell Westbrook was way more valuable than him. Just give it time. Once the contract started leaning out, they could have got a much better deal for him than getting John freaking Wall, who hasn't picked up a basketball in freaking 2 years.
Yeah.
The Bucks, great. They got the assets. They have just enough assets, I think, that you could convince. Maybe, get Steven Genzo in that trade. Maybe get Drew. Maybe Brian Forrest, Pat Connington. Gut some of your mid-tier roster to get James now, and maybe they're thin now, but in 2021 they can load back up, and that's what makes it such a great time to trade superstars right now, because the free agency is just around the corner. So getting all this talent, just coming fresh off of a healthy season, not too many guys are injured, just a lot of value that everybody's coming to their contract point at one point. Let's see who else. Lonzo Ball, he's there. The Oklahoma City Thunder basically want to offload their whole team.
Yeah.
Al Horford. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is a franchise piece they want to stay. Maybe you could get Louis Dortz. He did play insane. You could get Trevor Ariza, Darius Miller. Good role players are consistent. The Magic, it's confusing where the Magic are because they're just stuck in the middle. So I think they may be heading towards a rebuild. And if anybody's the first to go, it is Nikola Vucevic, one of the most valuable centers in the league. Very underrated.
Yeah, all right. Hold on real quick. Sorry, guys, I didn't mean to cut you off, but just real quick, and I'll let you continue, but just real quick, I wanted to get Jeff and Weese's thoughts on this whole thing. So, Jeff, I'm going to start with you, man. First of all, thank you for coming to the stream. Same thing with you, Weese. Jeff, I just wanted to get your thoughts real quick on, what's your thoughts on Giannis signing the 5-year max for the 228 million dollar extension, and then what's your thoughts on James Harden with the way that he's looking right now, for preseason basketball, and what team do you think that he's going to go to, if the Houston Rockets are, if he wants, obviously he wants out of Houston, and like what team can Houston really trade him to if they're going to get value from James Harden?
So about the Giannis signing, that was really great. I feel like you're a Bucks fan out there. Of course, I'm a Toronto Raptors fan. It kind of sucks, but no, it's good for him. I know his age is not too bad. I think after 5 years, I think he will want to sign like another big extension after that. And I think like the Bucks this year, like they could be like really good now. Like everyone's just like, I know they're gonna be a top team. Giannis, he always plays good. He's like a driver, man. He drives in all the time, and like he does everything for the Bucks. So it was a great time for them, and they really needed that. On James Harden, that one I'm still kind of stuck on. I just don't know. Maybe Nets. It's so hard. Like I just think he's gotta. I think he's got to get out. It's time for him for sure in Houston. I just don't know where a role team would take him, but there's options for him for sure.
All right, no problem, man. What's your thoughts on the Giannis thing and obviously with the James Harden situation?
Glad Giannis didn't go anywhere where it was detrimental to the balance of the NBA. Then I would say, like, for him signing the Supermax, I don't know how that would impact other people signing the Supermax, but I think it's good for the Bucks. I don't know what they have in terms of, like, money to sign other players, but that would encourage people to sign if they're willing to take, like, a pay cut or something to win a championship. As far as James Harden, man, I don't know where he would go. I think the Nets would be the only team that really has the assets that they're willing to give up to get him. Everybody else is not willing to give up. I think there's teams that have the assets to give up, but they're not willing to give up for James Harden because that'll just leave their team kind of like bone dry. So
Yeah.
That's where I'm at with it. Like the Nets would be the only trade option I see. Maybe Philadelphia if they're willing to give up like Ben Simmons or something, but I don't know what else they would give up outside of that. But yeah.
All right, so all right, thank you guys for your thoughts on those two things. The one thing I got to say about James Harden is that he kind of low key is kind of acting what Kyrie was gonna act like at the time that if Kyrie didn't get traded after obviously Cleveland lost in 2017 to Golden State, and basically Kyle after Kyrie was possibly going to get traded, he hated the fact that actually went public, so he decided that he was gonna hold the organization hostage if he didn't leave that organization, because now he started to kind of see, in a way, he was kind of seeing that they kind of really didn't care for what he obviously brought to that organization, and the fact that he got near traded twice was a reason he left. In Harden's case, now Godzilla was making the point that he feels that Daryl Morey gets blamed, which I agree. I felt like he fell too in love with analytics, and that's why they lost. They didn't succeed as well as they should have, even though they did make it to the conference finals in 2018. Then you have obviously Mike D'Antoni. I always call him No D'Antoni because he's not a guy who worries about defense, and he just does a poor job of adjustments. He's a guy that just always thinks about pick and roll and shooting threes is the way to go, and that you'll finally break through. And I think the reason that he kind of stuck with this offense is because he saw what Golden State did winning their championships. But the difference between Golden State and obviously Houston is Golden State has more motion with their offense. But the funny thing is Golden State does not really shoot that many threes. The many threes that they shoot are from really two players, and that's Steph and Clay. They can make a high amount of threes at a high amount of volume, and they still shoot a great percentage.
And they shoot them in transition. That's what they do.
Yeah,
but they shoot their threes in transition. And then I think Mike D'Antoni with the Nets is gonna be good because he's gonna be focused on one area of the court. Obviously, he doesn't have to manage egos and stuff. So him just focusing on offense and putting people in the right spots, I think that's gonna be good for the Nets.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I said that the funny thing is that I know people were like I think what some people are upset about with Mike D'Antoni is they're looking at it as good as he's going to be with Brooklyn in terms of he only has to worry about the offensive end. I think they're so upset is that he just continues to get opportunity after opportunity when they feel like that there's other people who have not gotten opportunities to be a head coach or at least be part of a coaching staff. They deserve to get their chances, and it's like even if D'Antoni leaves a situation, it's like he finds himself in another situation like really quick. I think that's what people are kind of like really upset about when it comes to Mike D'Antoni, especially when he's been head coach. The closest he ever got, he almost accomplished it. And as Godzilla was mentioning, even though G Money mentions it in the chat all the time, you lost Chris Paul due to injury, you lost Migma Amute due to injury. Um, Despite the fact that the Warriors lost Andre Iguodala for what he brings, I just said at the bottom line, if the Rockets were getting blown out in the last two games of the series, I would have completely understood that Chris Paul and then a guy like Luke Big Mute would have been such more valuable. The only problem is they had double-digit leads, and Godzilla makes a great point. There was no adjustments after their threes were not falling. So when I listened to him, what he was saying, it was like he makes a lot of sense. It's really not much more the system. It's like you can still play that way, but as long as you make adjustments, you got to make adjustments. You got to do something different if one style of play is not working. And Mike D'Antoni is kind of pretty much what Mike Budenholzer is doing in the East. They still continue to go with plan A, plan A. Your plan A is your plan B, your plan C, and your plan D. So when plan A doesn't work, you just stick with plan A and you just change the letters. So that's why they didn't do well. And then James Harden's problem for me is that I don't think he really committed himself like when he should have. And I really more so feel like, okay, if you don't score in the fourth quarter, obviously you're going to get kind of criticized. But the biggest thing is, are you doing other ways are you doing other things to help your team win? And I've always said that when you look at James Harden's style of play, it's when you take away his free throws, when you take away his ability to drive to the basket, when you have him only settle for jump shots, and the thing is, in the playoffs, you know that they're going to be more physical and you're not going to get as many calls, which is what he tried to do instead of trying to focus on playing basketball. See, if you could be aggressive and just worry about helping your team, I think the referees can be kind and trying to give you the whistle a little bit more. But the problem is he was constantly looking for that whistle. It wasn't as much in 2018 like it was in 2019. In 2019, G Money's absolutely right. That's more disappointing because Kevin Durant got hurt. So you didn't have to worry about KD. You only had to really worry about Steph and Clay. And they still had Chris Paul and they had James Harden. Now, did they lose some pieces? Absolutely. But that was the weakest and the most vulnerable out of all the teams that went to the finals with Golden State. That was their most vulnerable. And they still couldn't take advantage of that. And what happened? Chris Paul got traded. You bring in Russell Westbrook. And the funny thing that I don't understand is Gerald Green was on the team 2 years ago. Why did they decide to bring him back? It just didn't make sense to me. And then when I look at the fact that James Harden it's fine if he wants to party. It's his style. It's his life. He does what he wants. But the fact that he's come out of shape, into this, he's basically showing the organization he doesn't care. And I do agree with Jeff. It is obviously time to move on because he's not even committed to this organization anymore. So and the thing is, James Harden pretty much realized he's not the number one guy. He did a great job leading the teams to the playoffs. He got himself an MVP. I give James Harden this amount of credit from this regard. He's always been able to carry teams in the regular season to the postseason with any talent that he's played with. The problem is his play style does not blend with the other players' play style by the time the playoffs start. And the thing with Chris Paul is Chris Paul wanted to move the ball more, but James Harden wanted to play his style of play. And that's one of the reasons it didn't work out. And so I got to ask you guys, if it didn't work with Dwight Howard, if it didn't work with CP3, if it didn't work with Russell Westbrook, when we're talking about a player's perspective, is it really all three of their players' fault? Now, we already know about Dwight Howard. But is it really, and shout out to my Holy King, I see you in the chat, and shout out to Karam as well. But is it really their fault? Or is it really more so James Harden being the common denominator, despite the fact that we know that Daryl Morey deserves blame, Mike D'Antoni deserves blame, but James Harden has been put in situations where he could have done more, and I think he would have gotten a little bit more slack. But he's come up small in 3 of the last 4 playoff runs, and it's just not a good look. And then once you do it,
I'm just gonna start off. I'm gonna say that yes, I blame James Harden, but I mostly blame the front office. D'Antoni should have been fired. How you fail 3 of the 4 years with the most talent in the league, apart from this year 2020, they had a 3-year window where they could have took this title. Legitimately had it on the plate. Like literally, this is almost as bad as the Falcons losing the Super Bowl.
Godzilla, how could you blame the front office if the team had a 16-point lead and a 15-point lead in Game 6 and 7 of the Western Conference Finals in 2018, and they blew it? Not only did they blow it, missing 27 straight threes. Granted, Chris Paul was on the floor, but that didn't make a difference. I mean, they put them kind of in the best position possible.
No.
To beat the Warriors.
I'm blaming.
Others, you said you.
I blame them for what happened later, because they got really experimental. Didn't know what they want. You could tell that there was no leadership. They were desperate. They got too desperate, and they took too many gambles when they already had a solid team already. Trading for Russell Westbrook was reckless, especially if they were thinking about going small ball. That just blows my mind. Why would you go small ball with a dude that can't shoot? You know what I'm saying? So it's moves like that, and then trading away Robert Covington for little to nothing? Like what? Like, bro, what? I mean, the only good thing they've done is got Christian Wood. They signed freaking John Wall, a dude that we haven't seen basketball play in 2 years, and in the next 12 months is liable to go down with another injury.
Yeah.
Boogie Cousins, injury laden. What if both of those guys go down this season? How are the Houston Rockets going to look?
Screwed.
They are going to look awful. And then they got that $40 million contract. So I think Harden, yes, he did underperform. I think it's more in the style of play. And when I say team, I'm not talking about the manager. I'm talking about the coaching. The coaching is what's the problem. Because it's fine if you play that way during the season, but when the playoffs come, you got to play educated. And my problem with James Harden is that he, other than driving and kicking, cannot be an off-ball threat, does not get his teams involved. And we've seen it over and over again. Him being great is always disconnected from the team being great, except apart from that one run when he had with Chris Paul. So I blame the management for keeping D'Antonio from making all those mistakes. They should have been, first of all, before they even broke up Russell Westbrook and James Harden, they should have got rid of D'Antoni first, because I thought that was always the problem. And before it should have happened right after they lost that finals the second time. D'Antoni should have been out of there. I don't know why he wasn't. I don't know what that franchise has with this man, but this man is the only dude in the NBA that can fail over and over and over again in multiple cities and still get a job. I don't understand it at all. He has failed every single time. Steve Nash, MVP, fail. Lakers fail. Houston fail. Now he's going to go fail in Philly.
Yeah.
He has a worse rep than Doc Rivers. At least Doc Rivers was able to get one done. This man can't get none done.
I mean, and then you know what? And another thing that Karam was mentioning it in the chat, we got to also look at Tillman Fertitta, because the owner of the team, I feel like he, to me, just caters to Harden like a little way too much as well, which is what I don't like. You got to really look at this. You got to really assess this. It's true. The moves you made, why would you? Like, I didn't understand the Gerald Green signing. That's number one. I didn't understand, especially when he was just on the roster 2 years ago. And again, they traded a max point guard for a max point guard with Chris Paul and Russell Westbrook. Then they go back and they do it again for the second straight offseason, especially for a point guard that hadn't played in 2 years. That's one. He does look good in preseason, but we got to see how he does in the regular season. But the thing is, what you fear with John Wall is how well is he going to play this year? Because he's got something to prove. And then secondly, he makes a lot of money. He has a big contract. And then with DeMarcus Cousins, you're hoping he doesn't get hurt, because Godzilla makes a great point. If those guys get hurt again, they pretty much don't have anything, because they've already lost. They lost Austin Rivers. They lost him. They got to find a way to see if they can get rid of Eric Gordon because I feel like he's not really impactful on that team. I feel like he just he's way too inconsistent. Part of it is the system, I will say that, but I feel like even with a new system, I feel like Eric Gordon to me it's kind of what you see is what you get with him. So I don't think that that's just I just feel like when you just look at internally, the easy thing to do is to blame James, and like I said, he deserves a lot of blame. But it's like the organization, they just made some really, really bad decisions. They tried to get, and like Godzilla said, they played desperate. And I said that I blame Daryl Moore because what they did was because they saw Golden State have success, they thought they could do the same thing, only better. It's just the difference was they thought they could just jack up shots, play pick and roll. They thought that they could just do isolation plays, and they thought that that was going to not only beat Golden State, but then they would be the greatest offense and the new standard of the NBA in terms of this is how we have to play. And Golden State, even though they should have lost, because they had Golden State on the ropes back-to-back years, especially with what happened the second year when KD went out, and they still could not get it done. And the fact that it was even worse in 2019, like G Money mentioned. So he's absolutely right. But the fact that they didn't get nothing done is just and then now James Harden, and let me ask you guys this. If let's say that James Harden does go to the team that he wants, or let's say that the Milwaukee Bucks end up trading him, right? I mean, I'm sorry, not the Milwaukee Bucks, the Houston Rockets. If they end up trading him and they whatever value they get him. Do you think that James Harden would still pull a stunt where he would try to hold an organization hostage if things don't work out, and he would try to request another trade, in your opinion?
Well, right now he has the leverage. Right now he knows that he's exercising it, but he can't pull this stunt with another team because it's not like gonna look bad his brand. Him, doing all this. The only reason why he's getting away with it slightly is because the Houston Rockets just horrible moves. If the Houston Rockets had better moves, he would not have the leverage in the media. The media would tear him apart. They already kind of tear him apart already. So the Houston Rockets' incompetence is giving James Harden the leverage to do what he wants right now.
That's a good point. That's a good point. All right, man. So I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on let me just check with so let me let me just say this. So yeah, it's true. If you look at the moves that Houston made, remember Russell Westbrook came out and said that he doesn't know what the direction of the team is going, and that was actually a perfect time for James Harden to kind of say, you know what, the situation that we're in right now is not looking too good. So right now, it's true. Even though he cannot like totally get away with it, he does have the leverage because right now, Houston, they just made some very questionable moves, and it's like now it's kind of like that was Harden's scapegoat to pretty much say, I need to get out of here now, so trade me. And it's like it's gotten back to the point that he's come out of shape coming into training camp for preseason, even though they just played not that long ago. So then he's been partying. So because of that, look at that. So now let me get this, man. What are your guys' thoughts on how KD and Kyrie Irving? So we're now moving on to the Brooklyn Nets, and we're moving on to the Spurs. We got quite a few things to talk about these guys. What's your thoughts on how Kyrie and KD looked in the game against Washington, against the Wizards on Sunday?
They look good. I'm very surprised that they're this far along in development. They're going to be, hopefully they'll have a full healthy season. Maybe take a lot of minutes off of Kyrie because he's very injury prone. Because that dude's, the dude, in the small amount of sample size we saw Kyrie Irving last year, he averaged, 27 points on 47% shooting, which was his career best. People still consider him a 22-point per game scorer, and plus he was averaging the most assists in his career. So now it was getting better, and a lot of people aren't seeing it. But this year, I think he can make the jump to being a star level player. Like he's a star level player in the playoffs, but being a star level from the get-go this season, I think it's his first season that he can have an opportunity to do that. The only thing is trying to figure out him and Spencer Dinwiddie's minutes, because Spencer Dinwiddie, and this really comes between the injury. Do you want to play him or do you want to play Spencer Dinwiddie, who can, offload him for most of the season, play him maybe heavy in the last 20 games, then, get into the playoffs and then, have him start, in the first round because they're basically going to roll over the team in the first round. use that as basically practice for Kyrie, for them to build that team, that main team chemistry. So, I'm not in favor of, sitting out players for a long time, but he's already proven that he's fitting in this system that they're playing. And just playing him the last 20 games or 25 games is going to be enough. Let Spencer Dinwiddie do all the work. Let him get heavy minutes because he's going to be a very important piece off the bench. And he's going to be playing a lot of minutes and sometimes with Kyrie. So I want them to start experimenting with that. So I think if they can stay away from the media, I think it doesn't really impact their play. We've seen it before. Kyrie say crazy stuff, go off and drop 40. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's earned his stripes, and if he can stay healthy in a series, like let's just think about it. He hasn't been healthy in a series since he left Cleveland, except with Boston. That one time, we all know what happened there. But had he had been there for the first time, they would have been in the finals. He would have destroyed the Cleveland Cavaliers with their weak perimeter defense. But because of his teammates outgrowing him mostly, it just didn't work out well. So it's a very unfortunate situation for him. And really, Al Horford was the leader of that team. If you looked at it real close, they looked up to Al Horford. And Al Horford was their model of consistency. And Kyrie was just kind of the drama queen coming back from injury, trying to regain the team. So I think that Kyrie needs to, he doesn't want to say anything to the media, but he's going to have to. He needs to keep it very brief, very short. They're going to try and bait him into a rivalry with the Lakers because the teams are the two best teams of basketball right now, talent-wise. He needs to shut up and, just keep on improving and building chemistry with these guys. And KD's going to work out himself. He's led, people saying he's not a leader. He's led teams to the finals like the 2012 Thunder. So I want to hear that excuse. KD's a good leader.
Okay. Jeff, what's your thoughts, man, on KD and Kyrie?
They look pretty good, in the preseason for sure. Like, they're gelling already and stuff. I think, depends on his health. If, he's been training and stuff and, keeps to get back to himself, he could be another elite player, I think, for sure. It's going to really help the Nets. So, could be dangerous again.
Absolutely. They're I told you, Brooklyn is very talented. Like I said, I'm looking forward to see how they do defensively. That's, to me, kind of the biggest thing because I think KD and Kyrie, as long as that they're healthy, and with Steve Nash and Mike D'Antoni, at least offensively, I really think they could do some things. I really do feel like they really and like I said, Steve Nash has already said that he's committed to looking into the playbook. So I really think that's and try to actually run some sets. KD is going to try to play multiple positions. They said probably all five. Risa, what's your thoughts on KD and Kyrie and how they looked in their preseason game against Washington, and what's their potential could be, man, if they stay healthy?
I think they look great. For a first game, it was a little bit more than what I was expecting, especially from KD. He looked similar to what he was before he got injured. Obviously he'll ease into, everything. He played defense pretty well. His few defensive stops that he had. I was surprised too. I didn't expect that. So, if KD can return to what he was in the playoffs before we saw him get injured, I think the Nets could potentially go to the finals. Because before he got injured in those playoffs, he was looking scary.
Oh, absolutely. KD was putting up historic numbers just a couple of years ago before he ended up having the Achilles injury. So KD was really, really balling. If you look at the numbers he was putting up in the playoffs, he was, I believe, he was just a shade over 32 a game. He was shooting in the mid-50s. We're not even talking about barely 50. We're talking about mid-50s. He was shooting, I think, somewhere between 54, 55%. He was shooting, I think, around 45% from the three-point line, and he was having a 50, 40, 90 NBA playoffs. I don't think there's ever been a player. I don't think there was ever been a player that had averaged in an entire postseason of 50, 40, 90. He would have been the first to do it, especially if they would have went, if the Warriors, let's say they go to the champion, obviously they went to the championship, but not only if he was healthy and they not only go to the championship, but they win it. you would have to start thinking like, where does his 50, 40, 90 playoff run? Where would that rank in NBA history? Because those would have been.
You could say
Good.
like the Warriors were not deep or anything like that. I mean, their starting five was obviously kind of absurd, but I mean, as far as like bench depth, they really didn't have anything coming off the bench. So,
and let me just say this also, man. What people have to understand is that I keep saying this a long time. When KD came to the Warriors and they lost 7 players to get him in free agency, what you have to understand is the reason why they looked so dominant for a couple of years, it was because of their style of play. The league had not really caught up to their style of play, at the style of play that the Warriors were doing. The thing is, it's very common now. It wasn't as common 3-4 years ago when Steph, Clay, and the Warriors were just doing this on a nightly basis, and people were trying to figure out, what kind of style of play is this like? Well, you got guys shooting 30, 35-foot bombs like past half court, like, this is normal now. The emphasis of the three, it's more prevalent today than it's ever been. So, and people kind of tend to forget that the pace technically was still kind of slow when the Warriors were starting to play that kind of style. So, and that's something that people, they don't want to understand. And the thing is, I said when they got Kevin Durant, I said long-term it was going to hurt them because if he gets injured, what can they really – they don't have the depth to pretty much counter whatever teams they're going up against when it comes to matchups. So for the short term, KD had to play with the second unit. Steph Curry had to play with the second unit. Klay Thompson had to play with the second unit. That's how they were doing it because they didn't have a bench really at that point. So that's what I keep trying to tell people that Kevin Durant – I said, how long was that run going to last to eventually, by the time that they go to the finals again, I don't think it was going to be able to work because then if they face that right team that's got a star player to go up against KD, and then they're much deeper, basically they could just throw different bodies and play different lineups to where how is Golden State going to really be able to defend that if they don't have anybody to go to on their bench? Especially with the amount of injuries that Golden State had going into the NBA Finals. So, that's why I always say that. And, that's why I said with Kevin Durant. But I thought that KD and Kyrie, they look great. I thought it was much better than I expected. Kyrie looks like Kyrie. And then the fact that Kevin Durant was able to explode, that was the thing that I was looking for. Obviously, he has to shake off rust when it comes to his shooting. But I think Kevin Durant is actually going to get fine just with obviously more reps. And that you made a good point, Godzilla, in terms of the point guard situation between him and Dinwiddie's going to be a real interesting one in terms of how they play it. I think I'm looking more forward to the second half of the season, especially by the time the playoffs come around. On how many minutes is Dinwiddie going to honestly play? Is he going to be playing much more meaningful minutes? And then obviously whoever their first round opponent is, kind of use that as a time to really, gel, not just gel, but then obviously, again, get their reps in to pretty much, as you said, practice. So that's just to be able to, get ready for the second round opponents because we always keep saying like the next round opponent is always usually more difficult than the first when it comes to depending on who you're going up against. But yeah, so with KD and Kyrie, they look good. Like I said, I got to see how Brooklyn does defensively, this upcoming season. But offensively, they're going to be just fine, in my opinion. They're going to be just fine, especially when you have two players of that caliber. They just have to continue to preach ball movement, not try to – you got two good isolation players. The only difference is KD has the ability to play in a system. We saw how he was able to blend in Golden State. It's really more so Kyrie. And I think Kyrie was really starting to learn to do that in his first year in Boston. Because like Godzilla said, if he was healthy in 2018 with Boston, to me, they would have went to the finals because they lost in Game 7 and they didn't have a go-to player down the stretch. People also forget about this, about the 2018 Celtics, man, and help me to serve my memory correctly. This was the one team, because remember how we said the NBA Finals, as we always say, it's in the Western Conference. And we saw how we did have 2 7-game series in the East and the West that year. If you look at what the Celtics played, very competitive basketball in all 4 games. that they played combined with both Golden State and with the Houston Rockets, when you saw all 4 times that they played in the regular season, with twice against Golden State and then twice against Houston, you had Kyrie against Chris Paul, and then you had Kyrie against Steph Curry. Like it doesn't get better than that. And the thing is, the teams were so competitive. And once again, guys, make sure you guys like the video as you guys come in. But they really brought some really good competitive basketball, which is what it was refreshing to see. And I said, I would love to see the Boston Celtics in the finals, because I said, yo, you would actually get 2 teams that compete hard, and you would just get good quality basketball, and then you have your star matchups, which is what you like. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. Kyrie's got a lot to prove. So we'll just see what happens. So let me just get into this next topic with Kyrie Irving. What's your thoughts on Kyrie's situation with the media, with what's been going on recently with Kyrie getting fined for calling the media pawns, and then on top of that, he ended up talking to the media. But like, you know, what are your guys' thoughts on Kyrie's relationship with the media? And then I'm gonna follow it up with another question.
I think that, you know, Kyrie, yes, he's really, really annoyed with the media because they're going to ask him the, you know, assortment of dumb questions, you know, the unsureties, you know, try to discredit him because, to be honest, they want to prop him against LeBron James. They know the teams are similar. They're trying to get a storyline going between them. And Kyrie coming out saying LeBron James is not clutch, which is not totally accurate, but, you know, there was no context given behind it. They're really trying to pit them against each other. And, you know, Kyrie he's trying to build out a legacy. And, you know, I hate to say, but the media is trying to stop him. They're trying to stop him at every turn to make him look like the inferior player. And why are they trying to make him look like an inferior player? Because they want to try and take away that 2016 finals where he averaged nearly 30 points on nearly 50% shooting as a guard, putting up those circus shots. You know, they want to try and erase that and make it look like LeBron James was basically by himself on that run. So that's why they devalue him to try and prop up LeBron James. And I can understand his frustration. That's why, you know, it may have gotten to LeBron James so much that he thought he could replace Kyrie with Chris Paul. And I think that's what, you know, it put everything in motion for him to leave. So when we really think about it, you know, Kyrie's just trying to stay healthy. And the reason why he can't respond is because he can't stay healthy. So he's just trapped in this, you know, cycle of not being able to respond. Because we tell the truth, Kyrie's a top 5 point guard in the league. I'd rather have him than Damian Lillard. We've seen what Kyrie can do in the playoffs. We've seen him fail. But, you know, that was more of a team situation than his pure talent. And had you been there the first year, he would have been in the finals. So if he had been healthy this season, you could argue they would have been in the finals this season. Because no matter how much you hate Kyrie, with LeBron James, with other teammates, he has been fired. Dude, if we get 2016 Kyrie back, I don't care who's in the East, they are going down. Because Klay Thompson, one of the best players, defensive players in the league, could not stop him.
No.
He hit everything in his face. He commanded triple teams. And if we see that same Kyrie this year, him average, like 20, 27, 26, or maybe, you know, bring it down to 25 and have him bring up those assist numbers and improve his passing, they're going straight to the finals. And they're really giving the Lakers problems just because of their play style. Because as much as great as the depth of the Lakers is, when you compare them to this team, you got 2 guys that can instantly put up so many points on the board, whereas your other teammates can focus on, you know, getting open attempts, playing good chemistry, and playing good defense, which is going to be the real test of this team. But they already got 2 lockdown defenders in the paint. You know, it's all about chemistry and IQ. The Lakers have a lot of talent, but who's going to balance out those minutes? You know, which lineup are they going to use? They're the little bit more versatile team, but if we see Pete Kyrie come back again, that's not going to matter. Montrezl Harrell is not going to be able to stop Kyrie. He's going to drag that double team, triple team right with him. You know, Marc Gasol nobody can really stop Kyrie. So it really just comes down, can Kyrie play peak again along with KD in conjunction and play in a good offense, which, I mean, they're looking to do, and get, you know, guys like Joe Harris constantly involved. Great 3-point shooter, but lacks kind of the deep playoff experience. We know Jared Allen's going to be there. Who else? Beyond those two guys, you know what I'm saying? Brooklyn, at worst, is like one piece off from guaranteeing a championship. And plus, that's with the upcoming 2021 season. They could go get more pieces, be more in depth. So right now, it's really great for the Brooklyn Nets. They just have to stay healthy, bro. Like they're the most injury risk team right now in the NBA. Because if one of those two goes down, then it's very questionable. I forgot Karis LeVert. Dude's a freaking great raw talent who has a lot of playoff experience for the last 2 seasons without great teammates. So now you put him with KD, he's kind of stretched his wings now. And that's a good thing about this situation is that a lot of the Brooklyn Nets players, they were forced to try and make it on their own with D'Lo in them. So they have that scrappy mentality. So now that they have the talent, now that they have the superstars, now it's just 100% chemistry. It's 100% chemistry now, whether they can win that title. Because if Pete Kyrie comes back, I don't care how much depth you have on the Lakers, there's no way you're going to stop him. If he's playing team ball combined with his great dribble penetration. Because once he starts penetrating and drawing that double team, guess what? He's going to start kicking. And once he starts kicking the guys like Kevin Durant, if on your team, a dude's drawing a double team and his name not Kevin Durant, there's a problem.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, that's all I got to say about that.
Jeff, what's your thoughts on it, man?
So about like him and like, with the media, I think like he should just let his game do the talking, I feel like, all on the court, and then he can talk to the media, and like he just shouldn't be like disrespectful and stuff. He should take them serious and stuff, and like always like respect them with like, if they're gonna respect him, then he should be respected. And like I think the media is like, yeah, they might ask a few dumb questions to him, but he's got to answer them anyway at the end of the day because he's at the mic. So
I think that, what you said there was very interesting. And I just want to comment. You said, let us play through the talk. He keeps getting injured. So he can't let us play through the talk.
That's the thing, right? So if he's not like injured, then it will work. But, he's been injured for the last few years, unfortunately. But
if it wasn't for his injuries, Kyrie would be a top 20 point guard of all time. Guaranteed. Possibly in the top 10.
Probably, yeah.
With what he did in the finals in 2016, to have that raw talent, to beat Golden State, if people only contribute that to LeBron James, it should also go for Kyrie. He beat one of the greatest teams ever with his play. He played absolutely phenomenal. Shot 42% from the 3-point line, 40% from the floor, which would be his career highs. To pull up in that series and completely destroy Golden State's offense and defense, dude doesn't get enough credit for it. It only goes to LeBron James, though. But he never had help, guys. LeBron James never had help. Just wanted to let y'all know that.
Right. No, listen, and Weiss made a very good point. It's crazy how Kyrie's been in the league for so long, and for some reason, he just does not know how to handle the media. The funny thing was, he handled the media so well when he first left Cleveland back in 2017, where they were just trying to figure out what was going on internally between him, LeBron James, and the Cleveland Cavaliers. And he just kept saying the politically correct answer. He kept figuring out ways to kind of just pretty much weave around it. And I'm saying, okay, Kyrie, understand how the media works. But then you listen to him the last 3 seasons, and I'm just saying to myself, Kyrie, it's like you need to look back at what you said in the 2017 offseason when you was on the 4-letter word network back then in the summertime, and the way that you answered questions and you were dunking them, you were doing it with great ease. But now it's like you're begging for forgiveness. You threw your teammates under the bus in Boston, and and that was more of a team thing, obviously. You're saying that you still feel like that you're missing some pieces on the Brooklyn Nets when your team is pretty deep. And I forgot that they had signed Jamal Crawford. So if he's still on the roster, again, he'd be a good, he's a good veteran presence for that team. And Jamal Crawford can still play. It's not like if his play's really like dropped off. It's just he got injured. But a healthy Jamal Crawford, I mean, he could definitely help them at least in terms of scoring. Like I said, there's just more so defense. So what I'm basically saying is that Kyrie just needs to he got fined for not wanting to talk to the media and calling them pawns. Now, whatever you may think of the media, at the end of the day, Kevin Durant doesn't like the media, but he's answering questions. He's answering questions. So if he's got to do it, you got to do it too, my friend. So it just doesn't make sense that you're just trying to, just play your game, answer the questions that you answer. If you find a way to just find a new way to answer questions, that way to keep the media guessing. That's what you got to do. You got to play a game. The media's job is to make stories. That's what they're gonna do. That's what they get paid to do, whether you like it or not. That's their job. So you have to play the narrative. If you want to play the narrative, you can do that. You just got to figure out how to play your game, focus on your team. Whatever's going on internally, you keep it in house. Keep it in house. And like, stop trying to look for this validation and attention, because it's only gonna make you look bad. It's already bad enough that you get ripped for, especially when people keep continuously say you are completely nothing without a LeBron James. When I continuously tell people, why did LeBron go back to Cleveland if he knew Kyrie was there? Because he already told the signs many moons ago when he was in Miami when they played a regular season game against Cleveland. LeBron told Kyrie that he might be back. Kyrie didn't understand what he meant by that. He thought like way, way, way in the future. But he didn't expect LeBron to come at the end of that season, and then next thing you know, he's his teammate. Kyrie had to learn how to deal with that because he didn't want to deal with it at first. So, and it's also Kyrie has to understand this too. You didn't want to be in Boston when originally Boston was not the team that you wanted to get traded to. Cleveland just did it because they didn't want to listen to your mouth, and they wanted to send you where they wanted, not where you wanted. Because Kyrie didn't really have leverage like he did when he was a free agent and ended up signing with Brooklyn. So my Holy King is absolutely right. You're getting paid too much money to be complaining about the media. It's the truth. So you need to leave it alone and forget about that and just continue to play your game. And again, shout out to Ryan in the chat. I want to get your guys' thoughts on this last topic right here. So I don't know if you guys know the inside reporter by the name of Shams Charania.
Yeah.
He ended up signing.
Yeah.
Okay, so he ended up signing with Clutch Sports, and Kyrie Irving actually called him out for being a member of Clutch Sports. And as a matter of fact, they were actually reported. There were reported people from Clutch that were in the facilities, I believe, from where the clip. I think it was. Hold on, let me just go back to the comment. I think I saw it somewhere. Let me just remember. Let me see where it was. Here we go. So Ryan said, I heard that the reporter's career could be in jeopardy for sneaking into the facilities and leaking info to LeBron's camp, right? So there was that. And then it says some of the reporters who signed with Clutch sneak to the Clippers facilities to leak and find out about the team with Montrezl Harrell. And I also said that Montrezl Harrell is a Clutch agent, so he was also pretty much giving info to the camp about what was going on with the Los Angeles Clippers, because it just makes it funny that they mentioned that part. And I said, and people were saying, oh, LeBron is a boss because he got Montrezl Harrell to the Lakers. I'm like, wait a minute. So when it's convenient, he's a general manager. When it's not convenient, he's just another player. So somebody needs to help figure that out for me, because that's not what I was understanding. So the fact that Kyrie called out Shams, and Shams is one of the best inside reporters ever. He's like another Adrian Wojnarowski pretty much. So you really got to think. So that's what just kind of makes you think. So what's your thoughts on Kyrie? So after basically reading what I just read from Ryan and then just pretty much what I said, what do you guys think about that? Like, do you think that Kyrie's got a point? Do you think that reporter's could he be in jeopardy, or is he going to pretty much have a way of being protected since he's with Clutch Sports?
I think that he's in trouble. He might not. It's not going to change. LeBron James is just going to change the face. LeBron James, he's a competitive athlete. He wants every advantage possible. With the Clippers, he knew he won. While everybody was dogging saying Montrezl Harrell is crap, we knew that joker ball. He was coming off the death of his grandmother. Like, that's why I understand why the Clippers didn't want him again. He's a great player.
Yeah.
I would have gave him the money over freaking Marcus Morris. getting that huge bag, but you ain't going to get Montrezl Harrell the bag? What?
Yeah, I don't get that.
And, I could scream, weak move on Montrezl Harrell, going to the rivals that you were just chalking junk to play with
Yeah.
LeBron James, stacking up again. Here we go again, guys, with the stacking. Somehow them getting Danny Green for Dennis Schroeder, which I can argue they could have got a better deal for Dennis Schroeder. I mean, that's a very questionable move. And we saw with was it not John Jones? I'm trying to think James Jones when he was the GM for the
GM of the Suns. Yeah.
And he made that very questionable trade. And now we're just seeing really, whenever it comes to LeBron's teams, there's really questionable trades involved. Like, I don't mind signs, but the trade to get Schroeder, I'm just looking at it from their perspective. Yeah, they flipped him over to Philly, but did they already have that plan? That didn't come out until a week later.
Yeah.
He was getting flipped to Philly. So they just took him and got like one small pick. It wasn't even that good of a pick. They could have got a way better deal for Schroeder, being that the talent that he is. But is he on an expiring contract?
Who's that, Schroeder?
Mm-hmm. That might be why they got so little for him if he's on an expiring deal.
I believe he's on an expiring deal.
But even then, yeah, I could see now maybe how they got Danny Green. But, I just love the people aren't keeping it the same energy. Now they're talking about, oh, yeah, all the talents, with LeBron James is like, wait, where was that energy? like now people are happy about all the talent, but another player gets talent. Oh, they're stacking against LeBron. Like what?
Yeah.
They don't keep it the same. That's what I hate about LeBron James fans. They'll say, oh, they got the best team in the league by far. They're going to three-peat. And it's like, well, where was all this when Jordan was playing? You know what I'm saying? That's all I got to say. I ain't going to open the bag. But, Jordan, he got underpaid for his whole career. He got nowhere near as the talent, nowhere near the stacking. Like, how many MVP-level players has LeBron played with now? 3 or 4? Like, Wade, top 5 player in the league, MVP level. Anthony Davis, top 5. Arguably could say he's tied with LeBron James as the most valuable player in the league for what he does. I mean, like, this dude consistently has great talent. And now look at this team. Look at this team. Like, what? They got literally 2 6-man of the year candidates. They got THT. They got they're literally their off rotation players are literally could be rotation players. Quinn Cook, THT, that's probably going to get a rotation spot. These guys are literally chopping up for minutes to try and get in the game. That's how stacked the Lakers are right now. So, could Kyrie get him in trouble? But it's not going to matter. They're just going to get another face in there. LeBron James is a top athlete. He's going to want to get any kind of advantage on his opponents, study him, and he got Montrezl Harrell out of it. So, he definitely benefit. He wants to go for that three-peat.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we know that he's going to go for that three-peat. That's his goal. We already know why. He's trying to go for that three-peat. Again, more power to him, man. If he could get it done. Biggest thing is, he can't get. Hopefully, he does not, get injured. So, that's the thing. So I think. I mean, we're definitely gonna have to see because they just signed Marc Gasol, who I thought was just ending his career overseas, and then he just somehow ends up with the Lakers. And now I'm hearing rumors that Pau Gasol is trying to make a comeback and play with his brother, so they'll have him on the Lakers. If he's able to go on there. Now, obviously, Pau's not in his prime.
No.
But I guess he wants to end his career, and him and his brother probably retire together. That's the way that he's looking at it. But the Lakers, they look good. Last question, because I was cracking up when I saw this. Now, I saw Taylor Horton Tucker. I saw the way he played in preseason against the Clippers twice. He looked really good. He played really well. But I just love how they automatically said after that one game against the Clippers, especially with Kendrick Perkins, he came out and said, Taylor Horton Tucker was playing at a high level like a Kobe Bryant. I just had to crack up. I'm like,
what?
That's crazy, man.
Kendrick Perkins at it again. The dude, you could question at times he has good opinions, but at other times you question why he even has a job. Like, what?
Yeah,
Bro, what?
Even.
The fact that he was able even to say it on the air, somebody should have slapped him. Like, what? Do you know how many games? Kobe scored 82 points in a game. No, he's not on his level. Nowhere near. Kobe's had games like that his whole career. This man puts up in a preseason game that doesn't, and let's just be honest, nobody's trying. Nobody's freaking trying. If people were trying, he would not put up those points.
Yeah.
Okay, people act like, and I go in the comment section, NBA video showing these high Clippers. The Clippers are losing to the Lakers bench players. LeBron AD didn't even play. Like, dude, Kawhi and Paul George only played 18 minutes, and they weren't even trying.
It was scrimmage.
Dude, literally, he's trying. The reason why he's playing hard, he's trying to get a contract.
Yeah.
He's trying to get that bag. Like, bro, do we not see through this? This nigga's out here balling hard, driving through the pain, acting like he freaking Michael Jordan out here trying to get that bag. Because he knows if he can raise his value, and let's just say somebody gets injured, he gets that rotation spot. If he can improve it, he could be a permanent rotation player. And then on top of that, if he raises his value, the Lakers could trade him to another team. He could get a big contract, depending if his contract's not expiring this year.
True.
Is it expiring? I don't know.
Not sure, but that also means that if they trade his value up, the Lakers can get themselves probably another talented player since his value is going to be up there, since he'll be playing for a contract. So that's another reason that, because LeBron and AD both said Taylor Horton Tucker, he's special. I'm gonna say he's really good but I haven't seen. I don't think he's at the level of a special. I got to see more of that before I make that.
He's special for his position.
Yeah. Special for his position, but I know why Kendrick Perkins is doing that. Again, they're doing it for clout. That's why I had to crack up and I had to ask you guys that question. But this is why it just lets you see it clearly. Kendrick Perkins is a talking head. He makes a lot of money. At one point when he was a little bit mad about the Lakers and LeBron, it was because those checks weren't bouncing. But because those checks are starting to bounce again, Kendrick Perkins is talking all that clout about LeBron James. So I'm pretty much looking at it this way. So that's why I said, you know what? I kind of knew he was going to do that. Let me just look into the chat real quick. Shout out to T5 Stars. He says apparently James Harden was traded to the Bucks for Chris Middleton and the first round pick in 2022 season. I doubt it. I haven't heard anything about that, or else I would have found out. I would have gotten breaking news on
news everywhere, bro. That would have been breaking news everywhere.
And I also said that if James Harden gets traded, then Mike Budenholzer really have to go now.
That would be an awesome move for the Bucks to get that. First, it'd be a horrible move for the Rockets. Not only are you getting a third option player, but freaking you're getting him on James Harden's level of contract. Like what? No. And basically what the Bucks are gonna do next offseason? They're gonna load up another superstar.
Yeah.
Like what? Like who if the Rockets make that trade, they're the worst organization of basketball. Like I don't know. Like, it's just like if you make those back to three really horrible, this will be the worst all season for any team for the past 10 years, bar none. Like no, like what? You're gonna trade for John Wall, who could potentially in the next 6 months be a dead asset? Boogie Cousins is your starting center. You trade away Clint Capella to the Hawks to play small ball. Now you want to disrupt the small ball. Now you want to get rid of Harden. You're going to get rid of him for freaking Chris Middleton? Chris Middleton. I would rather have LaMelo Ball right now than Chris Middleton as a star player to build around, rather than build around Chris Middleton, who is all right. He is an all right player. He barely fills in the third option. He would make a really good third option on a championship team, but he would make even better fourth option player. And you could argue if Drew Holiday would be ahead of him if they got another superstar. Drew Holiday might be better than Chris Middleton. Because Chris Middleton be dipping to that 80 overall. People just don't be noticing. He be dipping. He'll dip his play down to 80 and then come back to 86 for 2 games.
He go from 80 to 86, then back down to like 78, 77. Man.
Hey, that's what. Hey, Jimmy Butler was putting that defensive Hall of Fame on him.
Right. Yeah, it's crazy. And that's this and this is why I say that it's the Houston Rockets. I have to look at the owner. If he really makes a trade like that, you now what you have is that now you have pretty much nothing because you don't know what John Wall and DeMarcus Cousins are going to be. Those guys are in their 30s now. It's not like if they were in their 20s where you could kind of say, we still have a future. We could probably build for the next 10 years or something. You don't have that. Their window's a lot smaller due to the horrific injuries they've suffered in the last 3-4 seasons. So you get a third option. Now you don't really have anything because you pretty much the rest of your roster is just about pretty much gone now. So you don't have D'Antoni. Obviously, James Harden is trying to go to Brooklyn so he can reunite with D'Antoni because you already know James Harden is going to want to get to play his play style and then win a championship so that obviously the media could talk about how well James Harden is playing because James Harden is, according to many certain people in the media pushing this nonsense, the best scorer since Kobe Bryant or Michael Jordan and try to come up with the PER stats. I said when you use the eye test, James Harden ain't a better scorer than Kobe or Jordan. Even if you want to put in his 50 and 60-point triple doubles, man, it comes with the inflation of this era. So to me, that's just
Just look at the playoffs. That's all the proof you need right there. When he gets to the playoffs, teams instantly know what to do with him. They front him. They send him a certain way so he'll be ineffective sim to his offhand, and basically he's neutralized. Just say, let's consider this. If he was the best scorer, why did OKC nearly stop him and had him go? Why did Louis Dort outplay him?
That's a really good question.
So you saying Louis Dort's now one of the best scorers in the league?
That's what they're saying. Apparently,
Chris Paul nearly outplayed him by himself. Like literally, hey, only Shea Alexander and a whole bunch of pieces, Steven Adams, but that's pretty much it. Those two. Louis Dort was the weakness in the series because he couldn't shoot threes. Imagine if that dude could shoot threes. They would have lost in 6 games. Because Louis Dort put it on them in that 7th game, and James Harden had to make a game-saving block to win that series.
I know.
Which, was good for the moment because he finally showed some defense. But then you think about it, this man almost lost a series to a player I would have thought that was a French painter. I thought that was a French Louis Dort. What kind of French painter is this? Out here trying to ball against James Harden.
That's tough.
I don't know if James Harden would have ever kind of lived with he would have definitely got trolled on Instagram and on Facebook if Louis Dort would have made a game-winning 3-pointer on James Harden. That wouldn't have looked good because
do you know that's worse? You saw what they did with Jokic and Kawhi and PG. They are mauling these guys. Like they're saying they're so trash that they can't just do anything. I understand Paul George failed on such a huge level, but to call them completely trash, and these people seriously mean it. They mean with all. They disappoint, but the Nuggets were the 3rd best team in the league, and they already came back 3-1 on the Jazz. And plus, the Clippers already had chemistry issues, which played into what happened. So it's like, people are overselling, the Clippers being horrible, whereas they're really underselling the Nuggets. If we really think about it, you saw all the memes with Jokic sitting there as like a 12-year-old laughing. Like, oh, man, those are beautiful. And could you imagine what they have did to James Harden? Had he had lost to Louis Dort, get outperformed by a roll? Oh, bro, he would never live that now. They would have traded him the moment the offseason that happened. He would never been able to live with himself as a player.
Yeah. Okay, T5 Star says, well, Giannis isn't getting a ring for another 5 years. It's possible. Maybe he doesn't get the ring in those 5 years. Who knows what even happens even before that? May he ask a trade in year 1, in year 2, in year 3. So, we don't even know. There's really no guarantee.
Different now.
Hard to say.
So really hard to say with Giannis, and then obviously with James, Harden, KD, and Kyrie. The thing is also, if those three were to come together, I'm interested to see how the Kyrie and Harden relationship is going to go, number one. And number two, you know what the media is going to say? Oh, there's no way that team could win a championship. No, there's no, they're not going to win because they're going to have problems. The media is banking on that. They're banking on KD to have issues, and this is what the media is trying to do. They're also trying to make sure that Harden, KD, and Kyrie, they're like, well, those are three personalities that one ain't going to match well. Two, they're going to have issues, and you're going to see this is going to all blow up in their face. That's what the media wants, and that's what they're wishing. Again, it's a way to create stories, and obviously it's to keep stories going relevant, and it's topics that they continue to talk about. There could be some other stories, great stories going on in the NBA, but you're not going to get that mentioned because it's all about the big market players on these big market franchises. And again, if you, like I said, you look at a guy like LeBron James, he could go to the worst team in basketball and they will be the most talked about. Why? Because LeBron James is there. He is the cash cow of the NBA. So it doesn't matter where LeBron goes. The Minnesota Timberwolves will be talked about every day if all these networks wanted to talk about them. Why? Because LeBron James is on that team. So that's basically how it goes right now. So James Harden, yes, he did gain a lot of weight, and he's got to obviously work himself back into shape. But he's doing this because he knows that this is pretty much a way to say that he's really not committed to the Rockets. So basically, he's just stalling to create more time. That's all this is. If he really wanted to, James could have gotten in shape already, but he's out of shape because he's pretty much done with them. So it's like, I'm just going to be lazy, do what I want. Pretty much, Godzilla said it best. He's got leverage. This is what he's doing for. He's got leverage. So he's just pretty much whatever.
Because of the Rockets.
Right.
And plus, I was just thinking about this, and it's not really pertaining to what we were talking about, but I was thinking about, THT and the Lakers, right? I didn't even think about it, but you remember that report that they're trying to get Trevor Ariza?
Yeah.
I could see them very easily just making a swap. The Thunder see the potential in THT. They get a trade going. The Lakers get Trevor Ariza, and they guarantee themselves the title. They legit will be 11 deep. I mean, 12 deep considering that they have, or 13 deep considering that they have, also Quinn Cook. So they would literally be unstoppable at that point, bar KD and Kyrie returning to their old MVP forms in the finals.
Yeah. Wow, James. Oh my God, James Harden looking like somebody's dad out here. Oh my God, he really gained a lot of weight. You can tell he looks about 25. He looks like about 25, 30 pounds heavier. Too many cookouts with James Harden.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, James Harden, very questionable commitment to the game.
Yeah.
You know what you're getting. That's why the Rockets should probably get rid of him, start rebuilding, get picks. They need to get picks. They need to figure out what they're going to do about John Wall. John Wall can be the lone star. They ain't going to go anywhere. They're not going to make the playoffs. So it's basically going to be the John Wall show for 2 years until he gets injured again. And they decide maybe they could trade him. I mean, let's just look at the best case scenario. He stays healthy. They're able to possibly trade him. Like in that for another Russell Westbrook type situation that comes around every once in a while. The worst is he gets injured again and you have to pay that whole contract and possibly waive him. And plus, let's not forget the gang sign situation with John Wall. Because remember, they were talking about, we want to keep James Harden. What's his name? We want to keep him. And then once that gang sign thing came out, next thing you know, he's traded, which makes the move even worse for the Rockets.
Yeah.
Because he could be a potential representation problem. And once it becomes that representation problem, no team is going to touch him. I'm surprised that the Rockets touched him, but how dumb their front office is.
Yeah. I can't believe. Yeah. No, I'm surprised they didn't even pay attention to that when they acquired him. So I'm surprised they didn't
Like,
pay
bro,
attention.
he's literally a walking liability. He's the biggest liability in the league, and now you're paying him the most money in the league potentially for what he is. Not at best he's an 83 overall, just like 2K put him
Yeah.
at best, and it's questionable whether he's gonna get even better. I mean, he's okay right now, but the Rockies ain't okay right now. Like, and then if he throws up that game sign, he's a walking brick. They would have to waive him and pay all that money over time, and that would just be an awful situation. I mean, the Rockets are really just outdubbed themselves in a lack of brain function when it comes to the GMing of that team. I mean, that's why they fired Daryl Morey. I believe they were fired, and Mike D'Antoni was fired internally, and they were let to walk away. But I mean, they're still in chaos now, even after the move. Like, the Rockets are just screwed. They just need to get picks. They need maybe keep one couple of veteran players, and they just need to hold out because there's not much hope for them right now.
Yeah.
They are in the worst shape in the NBA right now. No team is in worse shape, and that's considering that if you would have asked me a year ago, I would have said that the Oklahoma City was in the worst shape, and now their team, one of the teams in the best shape, seeing they just pulled off a Danny Ainge, which I like to call it because they have stockpiled every
Yep,
pick you can think of, and they still have assets that they can still drop to get those picks. And Al
absolutely.
Horford, as much as we don't like his contract, he is a locker room leader. He is very valuable to a young team, and he builds good character in these players. And we've seen it time and time again. No matter where he goes, he is a positive for a team from a locker room leadership standpoint. So his contract, they're going to keep him there, null out that contract maybe the last season for a team to take a risk on him. So Oklahoma is in prime position to get the next great superstar player, which is what they're gunning for, and start building around him as their franchise player, and not try not to make the same mistake with KD and all those guys, trading those guys away way too soon.
Right. Let me ask these final two questions, man, before we close out the show. And once again, I want to thank Weiss, I want to thank Godzilla, and I also want to thank Jeff for being here as guests. So let me ask y'all this, man. The Angelo Ball got cut. I'm not surprised about it, but what's your thoughts on that, real quick? And then lastly, about Trevor Ariza, which is actually the better fit for him? Would he be a better fit with the Clippers, or would he be a better fit with the Lakers? In your opinion, guys?
Um, because of the Lakers' lack of ball, I mean the Clippers' lack of ball handling. I think everybody's better with the Lakers because not only does he get to come back to Lakers, he gets a role where he's a little bit of an older guy. He doesn't need to play a whole bunch of minutes. If somebody goes down, you can count on him to show up in the series. He's that Robert Covington type player where he is not going to fade away too badly when you need him the most.
Yeah.
And he's going to provide great, solid defense. So not only defensively with the Lakers get better, but they will have another 3-and-D guy to go to. So really, as long as LeBron James and Anthony Davis are healthy, they are going to be the de facto best team in the league, no matter what happens, no matter what talent they lose. And getting rid of him for Horn Tucker is a match made in heaven for both Oklahoma City and Trevor Ariza. He does have a lot of value right now because he's injured, but is there any pressure for him to come back with this Laker team? No. And when he comes back, he's an instant asset. So it's a perfect situation. Now, I really do expect that he's going to get traded for Taylor Horn Tucker because as much as I like him, I would rather rely on the veteran presence of a Trevor Ariza.
Okay.
Because his value, you could say his value, what if he turns out to be a bust? His value could be inflated right now. The Lakers could be inflating his value. And the best thing for the Lakers to do, because he's not going to get any rotation minutes, he's going to be stifled. So trade him while his stock is high. And I think they might do it with Kuzma too. Kuzma's on the last year of his deal, and I think he is not coming back. I think he wants a starting position. I think he's if he wins this year, this will be his second title. I think he will prove to a franchise that he's that type of player that can warrant that contract and warrant that trust as a starting player in the NBA. And he's not going to come back. So I think the Lakers trade him at the deadline. And I think they would probably get Trevor Ariza for him because the Oklahoma City would love to have Taylor Horn Tucker Jr. and Kyle Kuzma for maybe trading maybe for not Terrence Ferguson but maybe for another player on that roster and Trevor Ariza. So that would fit in just so well with the Lakers.
Right.
But they could still only trade Taylor Horn Tucker Jr., Quinn Cook, and maybe a couple guys like that, and still keep him and just take the gamble of winning the second championship and worry about his contract later. So the Lakers are just in. They Rob Pelinka deserves all the credit. He has really put together a championship level team around these guys, around Anthony Davis, LeBron James. Like he's taken. This is the best offseason of any team for the past decade. Like he really did the number in on the league, getting 2 6-man of the year candidates, while only giving up basically Danny Green, Dwight Howard, and oh my goodness, and Rondo. That's a super asset flip right there, and the Lakers are in prime position to three-peat.
I think you got to go with the Clippers for sure. I think they need that depth. Because, with the Lakers, I don't know if they should trade THT because, he's still coming up and stuff. And, the Clippers might just need a little veteran guy just, to shoot. Even play, 4. Even if he plays, a couple minutes. So that's all they really need out of him. So. Yeah, and then the ball, I'm not really shocked he got, waived. But I wish him good luck in the future, though. I know he's not the best, but I wish him good luck.
Yeah, I think LiAngelo, I'm very impressed. A lot of people say he was never going to make it, but he got signed by an NBA team. He didn't stay, but, at least you never know. A team might see him, pick him up, hold him for the rest of the season. So, or he might go to the D-League, which I think that's what he should do, is go to the D-League and possibly build up his talent because it's evident that he's NBA talent level. But, if he could stay out of trouble, you could argue had he had not gotten in trouble with China, he would have already had a job. So it's all about his reputation staying in there. I think he's going to – I can guarantee you I think he's going to have one solid year in the league. Whether he plays a lot of minutes or not, he's going to be on an NBA roster by the time it's all said and done.
Okay, G-Money, if I were you, I would not be making guarantees just like that because
what is he making guarantees about?
You could take a guess.
Oh, no.
He's going to Charles Barkley route.
Oh, that's what I was about to say.
He says, I guarantee that the Lakers are going to make the NBA Finals. Well, with the way the West is looking right now, I'm not mad at you. I mean, they are the favorites. They are the champions. So you got to we'll definitely got to see, though.
But let's just say the worst case scenario, just to test that theory. If Marc Gasol goes down, they have no size.
They're doomed.
Now, I wouldn't say they're doomed, but they don't have any size. I mean, you could slip Anthony Davis to the center position, bring Montrezl Harrell to the 4, but if they sustain injuries, what if LeBron James get injured?
Yeah.
What if Anthony Davis gets injured? They're still going to be great, but the Blazers would be nearly on the same talent level as them.
Yeah.
The Blazers, people are underrating the Blazers. If Dame is able to make that jump and make his teammates better while making CJ McCollum, both of those guys have to change their game to play more team ball. If they can do that with the talent that's on this roster, they can challenge the Lakers right now. When Anthony Simons is your worst player on your team, you know you're doing something right. He's the worst player. And this guy, we saw at the end of that Lakers series, he was doing work. So shout out to the Blazers management, turned that horrible situation last year into this. They traded freaking Trevor Ariza for a better, younger version of himself. Gotta give props out to them.
True. Here's the thing. I hate to say it, but CJ McCollum's got to go if they're going to get to where they're going to get at. That's number one. Even in that preseason game that I saw them play against the Kings, even if they're not trying, CJ is still doing the same BS. And I do agree with you that obviously Damian Lillard needs to evolve into more of a playmaker and play more team ball. They also need to get rid of Terry Stotts because he's another coach that kind of gets a lot of these passes and excuses. It's the same old thing with him too, in terms of he just kind of does the same type of style. He doesn't really make any adjustments neither. And I thought the Blazers, I think they did get better, obviously in the offseason, but they just still don't compare to what the Lakers have right now. Their key thing is going to be Dame evolving as a playmaker, committing more to the defensive end because he's a terrible defender. I don't care what anybody says. It's one of the reasons why that Dame is always kind of getting outplayed in the playoffs is because you're not going to stop the opposition from getting their points necessarily, but you got to make some effort to try to slow him down. And he doesn't do that in the playoffs. And if you look at Dame's playoff career, I keep hearing a lot of guys continue to go, oh, man, Dame is clutch. And the thing is, he is, but to a certain extent. When you look at the totality of Dame's clutchness is it's overrated. I'm not even going to say tad bit. It's overrated. When you look at Dame, he's been outplayed. I can tell you, but he's been outplayed by quite a few players in his playoff career. He's had a couple of good series, but it's kind of overrated, especially when he doesn't even defend. But CJ McCollum has got to go, and they got to upgrade that number 2 spot. Covington can play the 2 and the 3, but I'd rather keep him at that Ariza role at the 3. They need to get themselves a 3-D guy at the 2 spot. They can do that. Dame involves a game to where they get more team play. To me, they need a new coach. I don't think Terry Stotts is it for them in terms of if they're going to make a deep playoff run because they have a good roster, but they need a different coach that's actually going to get them to play team basketball. And Damian Lillard taking that, really trying to evolve himself as a leader. I just don't see it. I just don't see it right now with the Blazers. They would be able to challenge the Lakers if they do those things as I mentioned. But
I think that the Blazers need to hold off. I love the idea of CJ McCollum being the 6th man for them. I think 2021 is going to be their year. They only need one piece. Re-sign everybody, get one piece. They're in contention to win a championship and change their style, maybe fire Terry Stotts. I think that's CJ. He's valuable in his own role, and I think as a 6th man with his playmaking skills, take maybe less shots or, just play more of a point guard role. Because right now it's kind of mixed up. Him and Dame can't be on the floor together. They're too much of a defensive liability. And not only that, they kind of counter each other's games. So have him be that 6-man role coming out for Dame and really being a good playmaker. That game 5 against the Lakers really did shock me how well he played as a, playmaker, Spencer Dinwiddie type player. That's who he reminds me of. And he has more of a clutch gene than him. So I think keeping him as a 6th man, adding somebody onto that to play the starting 2, I think that would be a great improvement for them to try and win a championship.
Well, you know what? That wouldn't be a bad thing. The only thing I would say is if CJ is willing to come off the bench where they could upgrade that 2 spot, and if he could do that, then I actually would agree with you. But if CJ is not willing to do that, and Terry Stotts keeps keeping him in the starting lineup, if I'm the Portland Trailblazers, I will come to CJ and say, hey, we need to upgrade this spot. We need to play more of a team game. I think you'll be a great spark off the bench. But if you're not willing to do that, then we got to get rid of you because, like you said, their games counter one another. And CJ and Dame, to me, they don't really mesh well because all I keep seeing is their my turn, your turn. And the biggest thing is this. Not only do they both do not defend, that's an undersized backcourt. So against bigger backcourts, they're going to struggle. So that's why I said that I feel like either you put CJ on the bench and you upgrade that position with some size at the 2, or you find a way to trade him if he's not willing to come off the bench. So that's the way I see it with Portland. They did improve, but they have some things that they really need to change if they're going to compete with the Lakers, at least for the crown of the Western Conference, because we don't know what the Clippers are going to be this year, even though just looking based off of what they have on talent, their issue is chemistry and defense and leadership. That's what those 3 things they're lacking: chemistry, defense, and leadership. All of those have to come together this season if they're going to be looked at as a contender with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. The Denver Nuggets, they lost some size and they really didn't get better. I thought getting Drew Holiday would have been good for Jamal Murray, but they didn't really upgrade in that aspect. So I think they're pretty much kind of more or less the same team. And I don't even know how Gary Harris is going to play this year, even though he is a good defender. He struggled.
He needs to really get better with that 3-pointer.
He really struggled offensively, and he has to shoot the 3 ball. The funny thing is he is actually a good 3-point shooter, but ever since he got injured, he's been shooting the ball terrible. Shout out to Alex Prime Sports in the chat. Make sure you guys go subscribe to his channel if you guys are not. Alex Prime Sports. Appreciate you coming through. Again, guys, like the video as you guys come in. And the Blazers also, they have to be a better defensive team. That's true. They were a terrible defensive team. Terrible defensive team. So they got to get better at that as well. So good point, Karan. We got to mention that. In order for them to compete with the Lakers, they have to play. Because at least with the Lakers, and I'll give them credit in this regard, they were a top 5 defense last year, even before COVID-19 happened.
Yeah.
The Blazers are just a dumb IQ basketball team, and they don't defend at a high level. So Terry Stotts has to challenge them defensively, and more importantly, he needs to change his coaching style. CJ should be coming off the bench as a 6th man. They need to upgrade that 2 position, and Dame needs to evolve himself into more of a playmaker and commit himself on the defensive end, guarding the point guards. They do all those things, they can challenge the Lakers. But until that happens, the Lakers are clearly the best team in the conference, because a lot of these other teams in the West, we don't even know what's going to happen with them. And Houston look like they're not going to make the playoffs this year. We already know about OKC. The Jazz will be in the playoffs, but are they really serious contenders? We don't know. So San Antonio is kind of in the rebuild mode at this point, even though they try to make a playoff push. We don't know what Phoenix is going to be this year. Minnesota, to me, is going to have another losing season. We don't know what Golden State is going to be coming into this year. So there's just a lot of unknowns in the Western Conference right now. Even with the Clippers and the Nuggets, So right now, this is the Lakers conference right now.
Lewis, I got a question for you.
Go ahead.
Who do you think from now can improve the most with the 2021 free agency coming up? Which teams, because there's going to be a talent race next year. Anthony Davis and LeBron James are, of course, off the table. Giannis is off the table. The big three are off the table. But what in terms of everybody else that's going to be in this season, off season, who do you think, or what teams are contending right now? Who do you think could get a lot better with the talent being available next year?
Let's see. Paul George. Oh no, Paul George just signed that extension, so he's out. He was supposed to be a free agent, but I will not even look his way. Kawhi Leonard is a free agent, right?
Yeah.
I think he's got to opt in.
He's probably going to opt in, most likely. LeBron is a free agent. He's probably good. Oh no, but he already signed.
He just signed the extension.
So no, he's out. I think really more so it's going to be really more so 2022, because there's actually better free agents in 2022 than 2021. So.
No, wait, hold up. I got a question. I know a lot of people don't realize this. Do we think Chris Paul's got to opt into the $40 million deal? That's the last $40 million he's ever going to see. Mike Conley's a free agent.
Okay, but he's not somebody I would go after because he's too injury prone and too injured.
It depends on what value he's at, because he's been very devalued this season. If he plays like another, very mediocre season, I could see a team picking him up for a really cheap price. Kyle Lowry, great. Like the Clippers should definitely go after him. He would fit on the Clippers.
Oladipo? Yeah.
What do you say?
Oladipo too. He's a free agent. So.
A lot of people are considering Drew Holiday, but he probably is going to opt into his $26 million deal. So he's probably going to opt into that. When we really look at it, I mean, they're Jordan Dragic. There are some nice pieces. Dennis Schroeder's going to be a free agent. He's probably going to want the bag after he gets his Laker title.
Rudy Gobert too.
I don't think, but do the Bucks, do any of these teams really need him? I'm saying the Bucks already have Giannis. Theoretically, if they make the right moves, Giannis is going to be their center. So having him and Gobert on the floor is going to be like, it would force Giannis to have to shoot a lot more than he really should be shooting.
Let me see. I saw that Karam was talking about the Dallas Mavericks. The Mavericks are in an interesting situation, but I will say that Dallas, they did. Did Seth Curry leave the Mavericks? I think he went to another team. So that was a big loss for them.
But they got Josh Richardson. They trade him for Josh Richardson.
That was a huge move to get Josh Richardson. I think it's going to help them defensively, but my issue kind of remains.
I wish they would have been able to keep both of them.
Porzingis healthy. Yeah.
Yeah, because if they could have kept both of them, they could have slipped Seth to the 1 and had Josh play the best perimeter guard. That'd be a nice backup backcourt duo.
Yeah.
My only issue with Dallas is going to be the health of Porzingis and obviously Luka changing his style of play to be able to because I just don't think that Luka could play that play style and expect to win in the playoffs, especially when it's kind of predictable.
I think because he had to, because Porzingis got injured. Because at the beginning of that series, we could say he played a little bit selfish, but who was going to do the job? You know what I'm saying? And they were whooping the Clippers until he got injured. So, you give them 2 more series, maybe they improve their style because they were firing on all cylinders from a chemistry perspective.
But I also think that was also due to the fact that the Clippers had a lack of chemistry as well. Because I would have given Dallas a little bit. I mean, you give them credit, obviously, but I think I would have given them a little more credit if the Clippers were a little more invested chemistry wise, which they weren't.
Yeah.
But then on top of that, there's obviously, like I said, the Josh Richardson signing was a big one. That's going to help with their perimeter defense. But the health of Porzingis to me is what kind of scares me with this team, because if he's getting all these injuries and Porzingis is not even 30 yet, because he's still young. He's only, 24, 25 years old, I think. So if he can't stay healthy for a full season, I can't, because it's funny because I thought Dallas was going to be one of those teams that you could build around both Luka and Porzingis. But the issue is with Porzingis getting injured, might they have to go a different route? Because I don't know how long Porzingis' career is going to last if he keeps getting all these lower leg injuries, which is what he's pretty much had. And he just came off an ACL injury that he had when he got injured against the Bucks in that regular season game and missed a year of basketball. So I just think that with Dallas, they're going to be a playoff team. So there's no question about that. They'll definitely be in the playoffs. How deep would they go? They probably have a chance. This time, I think they could possibly get into the second round just with how much the West has kind of gotten weak when you consider some of these other teams that I've mentioned, because we don't know what some of these other teams are going to be. Sacramento, New Orleans. We don't know. Maybe this might be the year that the Pelicans make the playoffs. Who knows? But but there's just a lot of question marks in the Western Conference right now. There's a lot. The one thing that we know for sure is that the Lakers are the defending champions. They improved their roster, and obviously they got a chance to compete for a second straight NBA title. Now, it's still going to be scrimmage because you're not going to have fans in the building. The only difference is it's no longer in a bubble. Everybody's playing in their arenas, so it's a little bit different. Not totally, but at least a little bit better. So, we're going to see what happens, though. We'll see what happens. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so I think I'm going to put an end to the stream. Once again, man, salute to guys of the Suplex and salute to Jeff in the Zone for God. Thank you guys for coming through and discussing NBA topics with me on the Lewis Sports Network. Also want to give a shout out to Weiss. And also, guys, also salute to the chat. If you guys have not, make sure to like the videos. Make sure to subscribe to the Lewis Sports Network if you have not. Also, make sure that you share this on your social media platforms so that others know about the channel. Like I always say, I truly appreciate you guys. We're coming back with some NBA tomorrow. I'm actually going to put up a little quick video of James Harden because I'm not liking what I'm seeing right now. He's been stuffing himself with too many burgers and too many skewers and too many shish kebabs. But anyway, guys, have a wonderful night. We'll be back with
James
tomorrow.
Harden looking like Black Santa Claus.
Right. He could. I mean, they need somebody to deliver the presents for the kids. So he definitely could get on a sled and go with the reindeer so he could start delivering gifts to the kids. Make sure to go down the chimney as well, James, if you're listening. But, guys, have a wonderful night. We will be back tomorrow. God bless to all of you guys, man. As Ryan always says, we chat together, we stream together, family for life. This is Lewis Sports Network saying bless up. Live, laugh, love. Thank you guys being part of the stream. Have a wonderful night. We'll be back on tomorrow with some more NBA content. And y'all already know how I always do. And I'm gone.
On the pool. In the air, left field, and Pools has given St. Louis the lead. A dramatic, towering 3-run home run.
Murray out of the pocket. 7 seconds.